Welcome back to Living Local. Vendors from all over the Midwest will fill the QCCA Expo Center this weekend for the annual Fall Antique Spectacular. Whether you're looking to add some vintage books to your collection or some furniture or maybe even an antique dish, there's something for every collector. So one of those vendors that will be on hand at the Fall Antique Spectacular is Michelle Juehring, owner of Vintage Rose, and she is joining us in studio with some of the items that she will have on display. So thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you're having us.
Yeah, of course. So let me ask you this. What can people expect when they come to this weekend's Antique Spectacular?
Well, there are 70 quality dealers from across the Midwest who will be selling antiques and vintage items from the late 1700s all the way up to, believe it or not, 1980s, because that now is vintage. You're going to see mechanical toys, cut crystal, military items, paintings, furniture, pottery, all kinds of items, 50s, 60s, 70s, the retro household decor, comics, postcards, jewelry, of course, and lots more.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people, when you said 1980s, they're like vintage, their hearts sank a little bit, I guarantee it.
They do.
So how many vendors you said about 70, right?
Yes.
70 vendors. Wow, that is awesome. So this show only happens twice a year. Right. And so are there new items and new vendors each time that comes, or is it about the same people you see every year?
There's always turnover.
Okay.
People retire, people move, new people get into the business, and then they come into this area. So there's always new vendors, and then items as far as merchandise. You always have what's in your inventory, what you buy new, and your merchandise is always changing as a vendor.
Yeah, and there's some pictures here showing up, and just like I said, this is a great place to come, maybe add some to your collection, maybe something that you're missing, you've been looking for, maybe this is a great place to come find it. So I am curious, I'm curious if it's just based off the year or if it's something, maybe an item or a piece. What makes an item or piece vintage or antique?
Antiques, it depends on the category, but typically antiques are over 100 years old.
Wow.
And vintage then is anything between 35 years and 100. And there are exceptions to that, but as a rule of thumb, that's a basic rule of thumb.
Okay, so who determines it all? Is it just like a set, is there like a list that piece comes in? I mean,
there's certain, collector cars, they have their specific parameters.
Okay.
But there's comic books, you have Golden Age, Silver Age, I'm trying to think of the space age, but that's not what they call it. Anyway, they have different categories, and that determines the age of the comic books, of when it was printed. And so that is determined more by what was happening when they were doing them, when they were printing them. And but as a rule of thumb, especially for my business in jewelry, basically we might use that 100-year rule. We don't use it hard and fast because, well, Victorian jewelry kind of drags on into the 1900s, even though I think she passed away in 1903 or 1906, and that was the end of the Victorian era. So it just really varies, and it's not what I look at when I'm buying jewelry to resell, because I buy a lot of estates, and people call, and I don't like the jewelry I have, I want to sell it, or someone's passed away and they'll say, I look at what's saleable now and what's going to be saleable in the future. And yeah.
Yeah, and when you think of something that's vintage or antique, you think of dollar signs, right? So what makes something valuable, or when should you know when you should be donating it?
You can have something that's 100 years old and it's worth $2. Okay, so value is determined just by age. It's determined by intrinsic features, the design, the quality of how it was made, and the materials with which it was made, and how many were produced after World War II. You have a lot of clear glassware, you have a lot of dishes because people entertained. Their husbands got together and they had clubs because that was kind of a post-war bonding.
Yeah.
And then you also have this jewelry that's made in mass, and there's certain jewelry boxes I know I'm going to see about 10 pieces in every single one because it was affordable.
Yeah.
And that's, even though now it's 60, 70 years old, it doesn't add any value to it.
So can you give us just a little bit on details on this weekend's event, on like, what time it is, where is it at, stuff like that, and where is it?
Okay, the Antique Spectacular and Vintage Market is down at the QCCA Expo Center.
Okay.
It's November 4th, 5th, and 6th, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday from 4 to 8, Saturday from 10 to 6, and Sunday from 10 to 4.
I'll tell you what, and this is, just it's coming from me. It's a good weekend to go to the center because it's going to be, I think, raining both
Yes.
Friday and Saturday. So I think it's a good weekend to get out there. What's the cost to get in?
It's $8 to get in, but if you go online to Antique Spectacular, you can print off a coupon for $1 off each one.
Oh, there you go. And it's a rainy weekend, so why not take full advantage of it, right?
It is a fabulous place, and I was just going to add that it's a really nice place to bring your children and grandchildren for a multi-generational learning experience. And they can learn from your parents' histories, from your grandparents' histories, when they see things and have memories. And it's also a great way for kids to kind of start looking at some inexpensive ways of collecting postcards, comic books,
Yeah.
and different things like that. So it's a great way for the family. I guess I'm trying to say it's a family entertainment.
Excellent. Well, we're running out of time here, so thank you so much for coming in. Had a blast. You're going to have a great time. Wishing all the luck this week, and everyone comes in and stops, of course, say hello. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yes.
It is. It's being home.
Absolutely. So for more information, you can visit antiquespectacular.com. We'll also have those details posted on ourquadcities.com.